Hey friends, welcome back to the library or welcome to the library. I have with me today a Naughty Book Review, also known as Sadie. I'm kind of excited to be talking to you. We've only chatted a little bit back and forth, so I get to know all the things. I love your Instagram, by the way.
Oh, thank you. I'm excited too.
Tell me a little bit about how you got started into reading and just kind of your journey of figuring out what genres you really like.
Gotcha. So, really, I started reading as a kid. My mom was real big on read. And ever since then, I've just kind of been a huge bookworm, even through high school. I did kind of take a few years hiatus because life happens. And I recently started picking reading back up in about October of last year. But yeah, I've always been huge on reading.
Did you have like one specific book that kind of drew you in, or did you have a list waiting since you took your hiatus?
Definitely a list. It just continues to grow. I don't even know how many books are on the list anymore.
I have to tell my husband, I'm like, just don't ask. Like, just
Right.
we know there's quite a few shelves in one of the spare rooms, and we're just not going to talk about what's on the Kindle, but don't ask
Oh
any other
yeah,
question.
same. Yeah, Kindle is completely almost full, and then like my books, I've got books in bags because I don't have enough shelves yet. And
Oh,
so I was like, I need to stop buying books for a little bit. But then I find a really good sale, and I'm just like, oh, but I really need that book.
mm-hmm. Yep. And some people use like the little scanner apps where they can scan the backside of their book, like the barcode, to keep up with what they've got.
Yeah.
I've tried. I can't.
See, I tried doing that too, and the one I had was like, oh, you can only log like 99 books. And I was like, well, I've got way more than that. And I just haven't
Right.
found a good system yet.
Yeah. I used a library thing the first time I did it, and it let me scan all of my books, and it even told me, like, because I have duplicates of like Iron Flame, Fourth Wing, and I was trying to get those in, and it let me put in the duplicates too. But then I came back from a Reader's Take Denver, and I had like 70 books sitting there, and I forgot to scan them all. And then I put them on the shelf, and then they started slowly getting mixed together. And I was like, I don't remember which ones have been scanned and haven't. And I'm not taking everything off the shelf again because it took me like 4 hours the first time I did it. I
Oh,
was just like,
wow.
no.
Yeah, I don't blame you on that.
I mean, there are some indie author books in here that have a barcode for the ISBN,
Uh-huh.
but they don't scan on that app. And so I'm like, nah.
Oh, gosh.
I'm just like, nope, I will not go through it again.
I do not blame you at all.
So what is your comfort read or comfort genre? Do you have one?
Um, yeah, I kind of stick to like dark romance right now, but I honestly like reading just about everything.
Yeah.
So I kind of go all over the place with my reading, but it's mainly dark romance.
Do you have one that you feel like is like your palate cleanser for when you've read like too many dark romance back to back?
Um, Probably like a mystery. Like
Yeah.
I tend to like go to a mystery book every once in a while.
Are you a big Frida person?
I have not read any of her books yet. I do have The Housemaid,
Uh-huh.
but I have not got to read it yet.
Yeah. I have a lot of people that are like, because I'm not a huge like it when someone says like mystery, I think like cozy mystery or like underlying thriller with like fantasy vibes, not necessarily like full on thriller.
Yeah.
Like the only like real horror. Oh, that word is weird. Anyways, the only the only real like horror book I read was a Halloween novella from Santana Knox.
I have not read that one.
And it was like not even really thriller, but it what? I don't. She doesn't ever pick one genre. She's just like, you can have
Gotcha.
a bunch. So I'm just like, I don't know what to call it.
Right.
And the question is then like, what constitutes thriller versus like just a straight up mystery? Because in my opinion, like a murder mystery is part thriller because you're figuring out who did it.
Yeah. See, yeah, I agree. That's like, it's a range right there in between those. Because sometimes I'm like, oh, that's a mystery book. And then I'm like, oh, wait, that was like a thriller.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I definitely agree.
Yeah, I don't even know how authors like categorize. I've asked a bunch of them. I'm like, okay, so like when you get ready to promote your book or like put it through Amazon or whatever, like how do you decide which categories you choose for like what genre you promote? And they're like, well, if it's a dark romance, you don't want to put it just under dark romance. You want to try to get like specifics without being too specific that you spoil. Because
Yeah.
if you just put it under like one broad term, like romance or dark romance, then you can't guarantee it's going to like get boosted and do well. I'm like,
Hmm.
well, no, not through Amazon, but like,
Right.
at the same time, if you're on the internet, almost anything that just says dark romance, a lot of people are going to flock to. So,
Exactly. Myself included.
yeah, I don't care if it's fantasy, urban, I don't like it. If it says dark in front of it, I need it.
Same. Exactly
Yep.
the same.
It's just this, like the word dark is like a trigger for me, like a ding ding light bulb. Like
Right.
I'm zoned in.
I don't even have to read what it's about as long as it says dark. I'm adding it to my list.
Yep. Yep. That's it right there. Do you have any authors that like you've like you picked up something that you wanted to read and realized that maybe it like wasn't your cup of tea? You tried something else and you just found that the author wasn't for you?
Um, Not quite yet. I I think there was one that I'm just like, I don't really like her books. Um, I do not remember her name. I know it was like Reagan something.
Something.
Yeah, I could look that up though.
That's up to you. I don't I don't know that I asked that, but like I don't know that I do. I feel like and a lot of people are gonna be like, this is not I could force myself to finish or read through anything. Like I've talked about this before, but Jodi Picoult has a tendency to write books that touch on like really touchy subjects. Racial indifferences or child death or miscarriages, things like that, infidelity, infertility, assisted suicide, all of that. And so I've read some of her books and like they're hard to finish. And like there's one that I started, it's called Mercy, and it took me like 6 months to read it because I would read through it and then I would get to a spot where I'm like I get like this weird vibe.
Gotcha.
Like I'm like, you get the creepy crawlies like if you see a spider or a bug or something.
Yeah.
It was like that.
Oh wow.
Book vibes. And so I would get it down my neck and I'm like, nope, I'm just gonna, and then I would set it like in my closet so that I didn't even have to look at the cover.
Oh
And
my
I would
gosh.
walk away for a month and then like I would come back and I'd be like, oh yeah, that book's right there. I wonder what happens in the rest of the story. So then I would pick it up again.
Huh. I've never done that with the book.
And I'm like, I feel like this is really just very much like ADHD, like task switching.
Mm.
Because I do it in my hobbies too.
See, I do that with hobbies as well. Like my husband's even called me out on it, but I've like never noticed it until he said something where I'll do something for a while and then I just quit and I'll do something else for a little bit and then I'll just quit. And then sometimes I go back to like the first hobby. I don't know. I like to think that I do a little bit of everything.
Mm-hmm.
That's how I think of it.
I'm the same way. I think the only thing that I haven't done that with is probably this podcast. I mean, I've had two or three sections where like I didn't post anything for a couple weeks just because I was like struggling in my personal life. But as far as like actually keeping up with like doing the interviews or episodes, recording them and then editing and posting, like I've stayed pretty consistent. But anything else, like I started dabbling in photography when I was like in 5th grade.
Oh, wow.
I've just been playing. I've had the same camera since then. And I just like on and off go through like massive seasons of like 1 year I'll be really into it and then I'll take like 2 years off. And then 1 year I'll be into it and then I'll take like 2 years off.
Oh,
And my
wow.
husband was like, why did I spend money to get you extra lenses and stuff if you're not going to use them? And I'm like, well, I'm going to use them. But every time you ask me to use them, I no longer want to.
Right.
And then like I paint and I like to scrapbook.
I haven't scrapbooked in years. That's one of those things for me too. It's like I have a whole tub full of stuff and I haven't picked it up in a while.
Coloring books, puzzles,
yes.
Legos.
I even have like the diamond painting stuff. I love
no
those.
way, I want to try.
I love them. I have so many. I haven't got back into it.
Yeah. And like social media is the same way for me. Like I told my husband, I was like, the only reason that I keep my personal page afloat is because you like to send me Instagram reels because you refuse to get TikTok. I was like, because otherwise I would only use my Instagram for my Bookstagram account.
I'm pretty much the same. Like, so my Bookstagram, I've been doing a lot more stuff on that than I have like my normal Instagram. But even before I had a Bookstagram, I really wasn't big on my personal Instagram just because, I don't know, I forget about it. And I don't know,
it was
every once in a while I'll post
school.
Something. Yes.
Yeah, it was very big in high school because that's how you kept up with all of your friends. And like we were nosy.
Oh,
so
yeah.
we wanted to know what everyone was doing. But then once you got in college, it was like those same people, or like once you were just done with high school, those same people, like you don't realize how real it is until the night of your graduation, and you realize how many of your friends are going into the military, or how many of your friends are moving away to go to college.
Yeah.
And then you're like 4 or 5 years later, and you're like, some of those friends never came back into the United States. Some of those friends decided to move to those states that they went to college in, or they finished their degree and came back home, and they're just a different person. And I didn't ever realize it, but I wasn't friends with a lot of people in my grade. Like I had 2 or 3 friends that were in a grade younger than me that were rather mature, and then the rest of my friends were a grade above or 2 grades above.
Yeah.
So they're already in college, and I'm trying to finish high school, and then I go into college, and I realize why I'm no longer friends with the people who were ahead of me.
Oh no, I get that because see, like I've always gravitated towards older people. So like most of my friends are going to be way older than me. Now I did have in high school like some that were a little bit younger, and then I didn't graduate high school. I ended up dropping out and getting my GED, and so then I was like immediately going to college when I was 17, and then I'm becoming friends with a lot older people, and then like you said, life just gets crazy, and half the friends you were friends with, you follow and you see what they do, but you don't really talk to. And so like I've got friends, but I probably haven't talked to them in years just because that's how life is.
Well, and I feel like the hustle and bustle of life, because it becomes so different in those first few years after high school, because that's when most of us take on the majority of our responsibilities. Like I took them on a little bit before that, but that's the consequences of having divorced parents who you're the middleman for. But
I get that. I had divorced parents, and I was the oldest kid, so everything fell on me.
Oldest kid, 2 younger siblings, 2 even younger step siblings. So I ended up in the middle of everything. And when that happens at a young age, because I was 13 when my parents divorced, by 16, I'm essentially another adult,
Yeah.
another parent in the mix. And so everything just moved a little bit faster for me. But then once I get to the point where I'm 20 and seriously dating and getting ready to move in with somebody, I'm like, I just realized, like, one day I just sit there and realize I haven't posted on my Instagram. I hardly get on Facebook. Like, I'm not worried about my Twitter or it used to be Tumblr before that, but Tumblr
Yeah.
died. I don't know what happened to it.
And I never really got big into Twitter. Like, that was just, like, I had one, but I never really got into it. I was more Instagram, Snapchat, and Facebook.
Yeah, oh my gosh. Do you know how much I cringe now? And see, I'm still in my like mid 20s. I'm 24. But
oh, you're younger than me.
Yeah.
I'm 26.
My husband's 26, but so like age range, that kind of thing. But
gotcha. Oh,
like
yeah.
even
my
now,
husband's a lot older.
he'll meet somebody like at the store or something that he wants to like connect with, and he'll be like, "What's your Snapchat?" And I'm like, "Oh," I'm like cringing. I'm like, "I'm 24 and I'm cringing because you're 26 and still asking for someone's Snapchat." Like, I thought we were getting out of this. I thought after we grew a couple years older, we were no longer going to be using Snapchat. No. And I was like, the normal thing to do here, the societal normal thing to do as you age is to ask for someone's phone number.
Yeah. That's funny.
Or find them on Facebook.
Right. I agree.
We're not 18 anymore.
The only time I use Snapchat is to Snapchat my younger siblings or my mom, but that's about it.
My younger siblings who are still under the 21 age.
So 2 of mine are like 21 or older, and then the youngest one's still in high school. So, but he doesn't Snapchat. It's just the other 2.
Yeah, so it's me, younger sister, younger brother, and then 2 younger stepbrothers. Nice. And there's like a 3 or 4 year gap between my blood brother and the oldest stepbrother. But so it's like me 3 years, my sister turns 21 next week.
Oh wow.
And then my brother will turn 21 next year in October. And I'm like, and my younger stepbrothers are just now like 17 and 18. I'm like,
no, I get that because my youngest brother is like 17, and it's crazy because I'm like, you should still be a lot younger. And I remember him as little, and now he's like 17, and then all the other ones are like 21 and 24, and so they're having these like adult experiences, like things you can do once you're 21, and I'm just like, no, you need to chill.
Yeah, Neither of my siblings went to college. They immediately just joined the workforce, and I went to college and then joined. But I was still working. But
same.
Yeah. So they spent my little sister, she spent most of her 18, 19, 20, like being a manager at a restaurant or something. And then like, I'm confused. I told her, I was like, I don't know how you moved out at 18 working as a server, not even as a manager yet, and you got into an apartment, but then there are people who are my age working like a salary job who can't do that.
Yeah. No, I definitely agree.
I told her, I was like, I don't know how you're doing it. I'm confused.
Right.
Because I was like, I would not have been able to get an apartment on my own with my salary job had it not been for my husband. Like, he was oil filled, so he made enough for us to buy a home.
Nice.
Yeah, but I was like, I don't understand how.
Yeah, like
and we just kind of sat there. I was like,
yeah, like for me, I after I graduated, the only reason I was able to pretty much afford like having my own apartment and a truck note at the same time was I lived an hour away from work. So I had to
Yeah.
drive an hour one way and then an hour back.
Yeah, but then I remember like my two younger siblings have vehicles that are nearly paid off or paid off. And I didn't get the chance to do that.
Yeah.
I didn't get the chance to be put in a higher, like the job I was making nearly minimum wage when I had paid off vehicle.
Oh,
And
wow.
then it stopped working. And while I was being towed, we got into a wreck. So it ended up being totaled. And I was forced into a position to buy a car.
Oh my gosh.
And never got to a point where I was making enough to be able to do anything but pay that car note and have just a little bit of extra until
Yeah.
after I got moved in with my husband. And then at that point, it was like, okay, I can afford to actually buy a brand new car, something that's going to be dependable.
Right.
So, yeah. Anyways, back to the books. Do any of your since we're on the siblings and the books, do any of your siblings did they take after you or follow you when it came to like hobbies and reading?
Not really. I think like the oldest of my younger brothers, he'll read like history books. But that's about it. Nobody else, like my sister doesn't read or do any of the hobbies I do. They're
Your
just on their
parents?
own plane. You said?
Your parents?
My mom likes to read, but she's like super busy with work and trying to raise a younger brother that sometimes she just doesn't get time. But she really likes to read. Now, stepdad, no.
No. My mom really likes to read, but we have very different tastes.
Oh,
She
definitely.
is just a very strong-headed Taurus and prefers murder mystery, like has read almost everything James Patterson ever wrote.
Oh, wow.
But like heavy murder mystery. She
Wow.
loved Where the Crawdads Sing. What's the other one is like I'm like looking around for it. I don't remember what it was called.
Yeah, so like my mom likes more of like the sweet romance, nothing too heavy. And then she kind of reads anything other than that, but she doesn't do like the same books I do
Yeah.
at all. And then like my grandma is a really big reader as well, but she reads more of like the James Patterson mystery and just stuff like that.
I think my great grandmother was a big reader. She was also a really big like puzzle person. So like her table and she had a little sunroom that was specifically hers, and also like her office, and she would almost always have like 1,000-piece
Wow.
plus piece puzzle on her thing. And at any point in time we could just go back there and sit and just mess with it and try to get it put together. But she was more of like the old-timey I wouldn't necessarily say like historical romance, but back when I was a young kid, the books were not written the same as they are today. It was very much a lot of like Nicholas Sparks type closed door, sweet Hallmark itis type books. So she read a lot of those. But what's funny is that she's not even related to my mother. My mother is the other reader, and again, thriller, murder mystery. She doesn't want to touch a romance at all. Like she read The Perfect Marriage by Geneva Rose and
Oh
was
my
like,
gosh, I love that book.
she told me, she was like, they went a little bit too much into the sexy side, and I just had to skip past it. And I was like, mother, it
There
was
was only a
important to
few
the story.
scenes in that.
Like 1 or 2 scenes.
Right? That was a good book. That was like one of my
It was
first
so
by her,
good.
and I loved it.
The entire time my mom was talking to me like, why didn't they question? Like, no one thought. She was like, I knew. She was like, by the end, I knew because no one questioned it. And I was like,
Right.
well, I mean, I wondered, but at the same time, like, there was that certain level of like, she has this authority,
Yeah,
so we're not going to question her. But
exactly. That's what I was like too. I was like, no, she's nope, nope, nope. And then, oh my gosh.
yep, that was
That
it right
book,
there.
I literally read that book in 2 days. And
Mm-hmm.
it was during Christmas last year because I was at a restaurant with my husband and I just happened to hear on the radio they were talking about, oh, The Perfect Marriage. It's such a great book. Everybody's talking about it and reading it. And so I was like, huh. So I started looking up what it was and I was like, oh my gosh, I have to read this. And so during Christmas, that's all I did was read. I didn't
Yeah.
I didn't pay attention to the niece and nephews. I didn't do nothing. I was just like, nope, reading.
No, yes, you can come visit, but no, you should not bother me.
Right. Well, I was like in Louisiana hanging out with family.
Okay.
So, like, yeah. So we go down
Like
there,
hiding in
but
a corner.
yeah, pretty much was like, don't bother me. I'm reading. It's like, it looks like I'm just on my phone, but I am reading.
Accurate. The one thing, oh my gosh, pet peeves when it comes to being like in the middle of reading a book. My husband is not a reader, and bless his heart, he's not. He has ADD, and so he likes to have. He's actually been like diagnosed, and he's got it kind of bad still. Not medicated as an adult, and probably should be, but
Gotcha.
another story. He likes to have the TV on in the background, and he'll sit there playing on his phone with the phone volume loud, scrolling through
That
Instagram
literally
or
sounds like
Facebook,
my husband.
watching videos. And I go to pick up my book or my phone or my Kindle and to read, and I will turn and look at him and go, pick one.
Right.
Pick one. Or get headphones.
Yes.
Because I can only deal with one background noise. And then he'll be like, okay. So he turns the TV off or turns it like way down where it's not easily discernible what they're saying so that he still has something ish in the background. And he'll like lay down with his head on the armrest on the love seat. And he'll put his phone like right over his tummy and just kind of lay back to watch it and scroll. And then he's falling asleep with the same video playing over and over again. And I'm like, I'm trying to read. Trying not to be like really aggressive and mean.
Yeah.
Just like passive aggressively trying to like send him brainwaves like, stop. So then I'll get up and like click the lock button on his phone. And then he'll jerk and the phone falls forward a little bit. And he'll go, I was watching that. And I was like,
that's what all men
no,
say.
You weren't.
That's what all men say. They're like, I was watching it. Yeah, you were watching the back of your eyelids.
While you were snoring?
Yeah.
You were watching it while you were snoring. Okay. That's
and
fine.
they're like, no, I wasn't snoring. I mean, I don't have headphones and I could clearly hear you.
Right. No, I'm sitting here watching you doze off because it's playing so much that I can't focus on what I'm trying to do. Or it's I'm trying to have a conversation with you while I'm cooking dinner, or I just got home before I start cooking dinner and you're too busy playing on your phone or watching YouTube or whatever. Yep. And then when I finally sit down to eat and read, then all of a sudden you want to have this conversation. Yes. And I'm like, no, yes. You got your time. I want mine.
Right.
I feel like every woman or most women have this issue if they're partnered, but like it's just
it's a never-ending battle.
And bless those who have children on top of it, because
yes,
not I, but just realized like how frizzy my hair is.
Same.
It is. It's the Texas humidity, and I'm inside.
Yeah. Oh, I'm in
Yeah.
Texas too.
Yeah. Texas girlies unite.
Yes. That's awesome.
This is so much fun. Do you have what was I gonna ask? What's your like all-time favorite read?
I've got a lot of like really favorite books, but I can narrow it down to like two, or at least like one series and then a book. So like the series that I'm like obsessed with is the Creature Cravings series by Rachel H. Drake. It's 4 different books. They're standalones, but they're like interconnected as well. And they can be read in any order. And so they're really good. It's like one of them's like an angel and a human. And then the other
Pulling up my
one.
Goodreads.
They're actually on Kindle Unlimited too. She just added those. So if you have that, definitely. I paid for them to read, and I read all of them like within a week or two because they're really short reads, but they're so good. So it's called Haunt. You have Blaze, you have Only, and you have Bite.
Okay.
One's a vampire and a human, or well, a human witch, and then you have like a succubi demon and like an energy vampire, and then another energy vampire and a ghost. And so they're just like different, but I love them. And then the other like really good book that I just love and I always recommend is it's called Burn for You by Tiffany Harris. And it's a dark romance mafia book. It's really good.
Listen, we already said anything. Burn for You. Which one did you say it is?
Burn for You by Tiffany Harris. She's an indie author, but super good.
Type in Burn for You, and the first thing that comes up is JT Geisinger, and I'm like, that's not what she said.
Yeah.
That's probably a good book, but that's not the one I'm looking for. Come on, Goodreads, get with the program.
Right.
But yeah,
that was actually like the first ARC read that I ever did too.
Oh my gosh, okay. I have this love-hate relationship with ARC reads because I feel like as a community, the Bookstagram community or just book community in general pushes a lot of ARC reads, and like, yes, they're a necessity and they're helpful, but at the same time, like, we push them to the point where it feels like that's all we should be reading, and that's a lot of pressure.
Definitely. I definitely agree because for a while I had several ARC reads I was trying to do, and I love doing that. I love it. And then it was just getting to where it was too much, and so I had to take a little bit of a step back, and I'm slowly getting back into ARC reading, but I'm not doing as many as I was just because it got to be too much.
Exact same boat, because not even just ARC reads, but like I was on a lot of street teams too. And I was just like, my feed is no longer mine. Like, as much as I love these authors, like some of the stuff that I'm posting, I probably would not have chosen to post if I was not on this team. And like, I know that's part of the reason why you joined the team, but it became so much of an obligation to the point where like, I did not feel like I could curate my pages to look in a certain way that I wanted them to, because I had so much obligation. And so I just started like slowly backing away. And like, I'm a beta for one author, and I'm on a permanent ARC team and a hype team, which is the same as a street, for another author. And then I'll take on occasion like a random arc here and there, but I don't do any others. Like at this current moment, I can't because I'm like, I've got so much other stuff going on and it is stressful, especially when like there are a lot of rules.
Yes, there are.
And the authors are probably going to become more strict because of how much pirating is happening.
Yeah, I've been seeing a lot of that here lately.
I have this like love-hate relationship with, I understand feeling like that, libraries are a thing and you shouldn't feel like you have to buy a book in order to be able to read it. But at the same time, piracy means that the original purchase, like the author never actually benefits in the first place from it.
Yeah.
And that's just like after a lot of this started showing up, somebody like took a picture of the first like the credits page in the Zodiac Academy books.
Uh-huh.
And in the Zodiac Academy books, the author has it in there that you're not supposed to resell from person to person or let someone else borrow her books from you to read if you've purchased them.
Oh, wow.
Like I was like, okay, one, you cannot keep track of that.
Yeah.
Like legally, that's not something that someone can stand by.
Yeah.
That's not a formal contract, so no one's bound to uphold it. And two, like libraries are a thing. So are you telling me anytime a library wants to request to buy a copy of your book, you're going to tell them no because they're going to let multiple people read it instead of making those people pay for their own copies?
That's insane.
Most libraries have, like, as long as you live within a certain distance, those library memberships are free.
Yeah. That, and then you have like the Libby app or one of those apps where it's like the library and you can rent it from there. Like, how are you going to track that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I just kind of went like, oh, the audacity. Okay.
Right. See, I didn't even know that was with that, but I haven't started that series yet. It's like on my list, but it's like a little bit lower down my list.
Yeah, mine too. I just saw a picture of it and I was like, I cannot believe that they actually put that in the printed copy. I mean, like, I get not wanting pirated copies showing up for free on, sites where people can just go in and download a PDF.
Yeah. And
like, it does irritate me a bit to see that because I'm like, the author put in a lot of work to do this. If you guys wanted just to be able to read it for free, there are libraries, which I know are not always accessible in other countries.
Yeah.
But it's kind of one of those, like, there's got to be a way, you know what I mean? Like, there's got to be a way that still benefits without doing something that is illegal. Like, piracy is actually.
Yeah. No, I definitely agree.
No, like, I'm in a Discord and I love my Discord girls. And one day I had to keep my mouth shut because somebody was like, I got it for free off this website. And I was like,
oh my gosh.
I'm like, that's a pirated book. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
I was like, okay.
That's crazy.
Should I mind my business so that I don't get kicked out?
Right. I will say that's like one app that I don't know how to use.
Yeah.
I have one. I just don't know how to use it.
I couldn't build a server. If somebody asked me to, I'd be like, but I can manage like being in a server. And now that I've kind of gotten familiar with it, they've made some changes since I first joined it. But yeah. Speaking of, do you have a preference between like which socials you use and you have?
So like for the book stuff, definitely TikTok and Instagram. Those are the only ones I use. Other than that, no, just about everything.
Yeah. I found like I use Facebook groups. I'm in a couple of them. There's a really big Texas one that, or there were two. I don't know if the second one's still active, but I joined those, and they're a lot of fun to be in, and you can connect with people in your area.
Yeah.
And some of
I
the others, like,
actually
it's
think we met in one of the groups.
through one of
That's
those.
that's how I found you. I believe so.
Possible. It's very possible. I think the one that I posted in was Texas Book Talk Babes.
Oh, then yeah, that's the one.
Yeah, Texas, because Faith is the admin, and she's
Yes.
actually in my area.
Oh, nice.
Yes,
So
she's
we're
amazing.
probably pretty close in areas, to be honest.
Yes, we're going to talk about that when we're not recording.
Yes, I agree.
So, come see you. Well, I know quite a few of my listeners are actually some of my best friends that I've met online, so they have my physical address. But it's just I'm like, it's out there.
Right.
I'm like, you guys could probably find it, but let's just not, because
yes, I'm there with you.
But yeah, I have like this 50-50 of, I prefer Facebook sometimes because it's a little bit easier to make some connections like that, in that manner of, like, people are closer to you, and contrary to popular belief, we were not designed to be solitary. So, human beings, as a general consensus, we need to actually socialize outside of the internet.
Yeah.
And so connecting in person is really important. And I feel like you get the closest thing to that through Facebook. Instagram has whatever side that I have somehow landed myself on has become this, like, mean girl thing.
Yeah.
Like, if your feed is not curated, or you're not reading these books, or you haven't finished this series, or you don't post this many times, or whatever the case may be. And I know the algorithm is not helping in any of this, because the algorithm for Instagram is just, nobody can keep up with it. But
yeah, I definitely agree.
But it was just like, at one point I was part of a couple different group chats, and that they originally stemmed from some engagement groups, and the original owner of those is no longer doing those, so it all kind of fell off. But it very much became like a pick me mean girl thing. And, like, I understand to a degree, if somebody is copying your content that you spent hours, or however long, setting up, taking the pictures, organizing, scheduling, I get it. But it was also like, as long as they're not reposting the exact same thing, like screenshotting, cropping, and reposting your picture, if somebody takes your idea and makes it their own, imitation is the highest form of a compliment.
Right. I definitely agree. Because there's times where I'm like, I don't even know what I want to post, and I'll happen to see something that someone did. I'm like, oh, I could do something similar to that. Now, I do try to change it up just a little bit, so it's not like I stole their idea.
Right.
But yeah, like, everybody's posting the same things. As long as they're not copying, like you said, like taking your photo and just saying it's theirs. I don't find a problem with it.
Yeah. But that's kind of how, like, the disbanding of some of those group chats that I were in started, was because somebody got really angry over the fact that, like, another girl took her post and reposted it, and she was like, she used the same book, she used a similar map, they're in the exact same placements, the background stuff is almost exactly the same. She was like, why would you, like, that's...
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, look, I understand your frustration, because it is almost exactly the same thing. Maybe she didn't see it off your page. Maybe she saw it off someone else's, and they had it placed a little bit differently. And if she did, okay. If she took the photo and the map's not exactly the same, or she used a different one, or what, it's something is off a little bit, it's not your photo.
Yeah, exactly.
So, I mean, there are much worse things to be having posted with as many hackers and stuff, trolls that we get that create fake Facebook and Instagram accounts just so they can take over your profile and stuff.
Right.
Like, this is the littlest thing,
Yeah.
play your little tiny sad violin.
The world smells violin.
Yes, like that's how it felt. It was like, oh, I get it
Yeah.
that you're hurt by this when you could be flattered, but like, and that's just one of the things of like, I feel like perception. It's always about the perception of what you have going on, how much you have.
Yeah.
'Cause I mean, obviously, we're all going to be jealous of the people who have like an entire room of like floor to ceiling bookshelves with the ladder
Right.
so that we can be like our own Belle and Beauty and the
Yes.
Beast. That I
That's
feel
the
like that's
goal.
everybody's goal. Yes.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it's also like, okay, realistically, not everyone can be that. Not everyone can do
Exactly.
that. And, you're going to find somebody on this planet who enjoys your original content for what it is.
Mm-hmm.
And if you don't, they're lost.
Right. No, I definitely agree.
100%.
Yeah, I did kind of go through a spiral where I was like, everybody has this book, I have to buy it. So
Mm-hmm.
I was getting all the popular books, and then I was like, right, literally have those two. Not all of them, but I was just like, me realistically, I can't afford to constantly buy all the brand new books. And
Mm-hmm.
so, and I'm like a huge thrifty person, so I like to go and thrift books. And if I can
Mm-hmm.
find a really popular book that is super cheap, I'm getting it.
I'm so upset with my local thrift places because listen, no one in my area will thrift books that I like.
Right?
We don't live in a big enough city for that.
No, I get it, because like the thrift stores here where I'm at aren't like amazing, but I have
Mm-hmm.
found like some that were like, oh, book of the month books, like, or like the box, the book of the
Yes.
month. Like, I've seen those. I'm like, all right, I'm gonna get that book. I haven't really heard of it, but we'll get it. And then I will say I had a really big score the other day. So I was working, which I'm a school bus driver, and so I was on a
Mm-hmm.
field trip at a thrift store. And so while all the kids were doing whatever they were doing, I went in. I was like, there's a thrift store, might as well go. So I'm looking through the shelves, and I find a Twilight book that I didn't have. And it was one that I needed, because I've been trying to like re-get that whole series, because I loved it when I was in high school. So I grabbed it and I just flipped through the page, because it was like a hardcover and I hadn't seen that one. Well, it was signed by Stephanie Meyer. And I was like, oh my gosh. I was like, all right, close it real quick. We're getting this book. Let's go. So I got that and another book, and I would pay like $1.85.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. I was like, what? And it was like I guess it was like a special edition or something like that, because it had the weird pages where they're like not the same
Mm-hmm.
length, and then it had like cover stuff on the inside, and it was signed, and it was just crazy. I was just like, oh my gosh.
Wow.
Yeah.
I got to tell you, my boss not too long ago, she's a huge reader too, so it's sometimes a little weird because she reads some of the same stuff we do. But she came into me and she was like, she came into my office one day and she was like, I've got to tell you what I found because no one else here is going to understand this gold mine that I ran in on. And I was like, okay, sis, spill the tea.
Right.
She was like, I found an original print edition of the entire Twilight series. And I was like,
Wow.
no. She was like, yeah. She was like, no, I paid like $300 for them. And I was like,
Oh wow.
yeah, first edition. Okay.
Yeah.
She was like, I found it. I was like, you're lying. She was like, no.
Oh my
I
gosh.
have them. They're on their way. And I was like, I'm crying for you.
That's amazing.
She's also one of the ones that knows how Barnes and Noble does their release days on Tuesdays for
Uh-huh.
like brand new books coming out. So she was one of the first people to ever get a copy of the first edition of Fourth Wing
Wow.
because
That's
she had
crazy.
it for like a week or two before it went like huge.
Oh, wow. I have
And she
the
was
book,
like, "Yeah,
never read it yet. But I
yeah,
did see they added it to Kindle Unlimited. So I was like, yep, add.
yeah." Now I can finally read you.
Right.
Hmm.
Don't get me wrong. I love reading like physical books, but sometimes it's just easier to scroll on my phone
Yeah,
in the
it
Kindle
is.
app.
Do you have a preference? Like, obviously, we just said it was easier, but like, do you prefer hardback over paperback,
Um,
or maybe audio, or
I've never done audio. I want to. I just haven't. Like I have like several audiobooks that I got during like the audiobook blast and I just haven't listened to any of them yet because I don't know if I'm really an audiobook girl.
yeah,
So but hardback and paperback, I don't know if I really have a preference. Now, if I get like a series, I want them all to be the same for
yeah.
sure. But I don't. They're trophies.
Another thing non-readers don't understand: they need to be all the same when they're a
Yes.
series. Because how much does it irritate me that I have Foul Hearts Huntsman from Chloe Gong and
Mhm.
one the duet, and one is a paperback and one is a hardback.
Right. So I will say on the ACOTAR series, I've got the first two books in paperback
Mm-hmm.
because I bought one and then my mother in law bought me one. And then I happened to see on a Facebook group that one of the local thrift stores had the third book in hardcover for like $5. So, and it was like one of the first ones that, like the first cover on it and everything.
Mm-hmm.
So I got that and it's in hardback. And those are the only three books that I have in the series. And so I'm like, I'm going to keep that because it's a trophy
Mm-hmm.
that we got it so
Yeah.
cheap. But I need to get the rest of the paperback so they all match.
Well, that's just like I started collecting the Crave series before I knew some
The
of the
whole
stuff that
drama
went
with
down.
it.
Yeah.
Yes. That
I
was
got the
one I wanted
paperback.
to get, but I was like, let's hold up. I saw all that and I was like, nope, let's hold off.
I literally, it surfaced right after Readers Take Denver, and I was like, I literally just bought that entire series in
Oh,
hardback.
oh
And I was like, and
gosh.
I wanted to finish reading it too. I was so ready because I only finished the first book.
Yeah.
And now I'm
Oh
like, I don't know if
gosh.
I'm going to read.
I don't see. I wouldn't know what to do in that position either. Honestly.
Because they're down there. I have them. I don't want to get rid of them.
Yeah. Yeah. That's
Anyways,
a,
I got the paperback, and then I realized that all the paperbacks weren't out because I don't know why they do that, but they released the hardbacks first,
huh.
and or they were redoing the paperbacks, whatever it was.
Yeah.
And so now I have the paperback of Crush, but I have the entire hardback series and just the one paperback.
Oh my
I
gosh.
was like, well, I don't want a second copy of these series, especially after.
After the drama.
So
Yeah. Hmm.
I don't know what to do with it.
See, I wouldn't know what to do either. That's one of those things. It's just like, I don't know.
Yeah, I really want to be like, that's like the author's already profited from it, so it doesn't really make a difference.
Yeah.
Like, so just read it, and if you enjoy it, keep it.
Yeah.
But also, I'm like, I don't want to feel like I don't want anyone to take that as a what, like I'm supporting her and what happened because I don't know,
Yeah.
like nobody really knows the truth of whether or not she knew.
Exactly. Who knows? That's a tough predicament.
Yeah, no idea. And I just, mm-mm. Um, have you read Darling Venom?
No, I haven't.
Have you read anything by H.D. Carlton?
I have not. I want to. I have Satan's Affair because like someone in a group got it for me, but I haven't read it yet.
That's a
And
good one.
okay, I'll have to read it.
She's freaking psycho, but
That's
it's
what I've been
good.
told.
What about Harley the Row?
No, I just now got the first book in that series. I haven't read it though.
My chest. Oh my god! If I could go back and reread that trilogy for the first time, I want to cry. It was over, and I was like,
Awesome.
trying not to cry because I was like, it's so.
Yeah, I just got that one.
It's okay. I'm fine. It's fine. Oh, that other book I was trying to figure out what the name was that my mom really liked is A Flicker in the Dark.
Huh. I haven't read that one either.
It's well, kind of a murder mystery, but it's twisted.
Nice.
Yeah.
I think that might be on like one of my wish lists because I've heard that title before. So
yeah, I'm like looking through my series here. So you haven't read any of SJM?
I've read the first book in ACOTAR. I started reading the second one, and then I was like, I don't know, like just the size of the book really got me, and I was like, I don't know if I can read this. But I will say I did get the second book on my Kindle when I found it really cheap. So I'm gonna start reading that hopefully soon. But I've got like so many that I'm trying to decide what book to read next. And I'm trying to finish an arc too.
Yeah. We're doing in the Discord that I'm in, we're doing a competition for between there's like 20 of us and we're split up into 4 different groups of 5 people, and it's by how many chapters we've read.
Oh wow.
So I told them, I was like, I'm holding off. Like they announced it. We all signed up like in the middle of July, and we got to the last like 2 or 3 days, and everybody was like, I'm so ready for this challenge. And I was like, I want y'all to know I've been holding off reading so that I could like cram all the books that I've been wanting to read, so that I was like fully in read mode and not like stuck in a slump.
Nice.
And I told somebody, I was like, and the best part about it is that I have a whole bunch of novellas to read, so I'm going to be crashing books.
Right.
I was like, my Goodreads is going to be through the roof. My chapter count might not be super high, but the chapters also aren't very long in a novella, and it counts.
Nice.
So... yeah. And then I told them, I was like, I also have, I need to go and read the Mind F series.
Oh, I've been wanting to read that.
I'm also in the middle of reading From Blood and Ash series.
Nice.
So I have 3 or 4 of those books, and those are chunky babes.
They are.
And I'm like, I have quite a few audiobooks lined up. So like,
nice.
You guys. Like, I have been preparing for this for the past couple days. We got to the 31st, and somebody was like, is it the 1st yet? And they were like, no. We were like, oh, come on, man. Like,
yeah.
Somebody was like, I read 20 chapters last night. And she was like, it doesn't count because it's not the 1st. And she was like, oh, well, dang. I was like, I feel bad for you. Right. I feel so bad.
Yeah, like this summer, so I did a buddy read with like 2 other people on Instagram. It was like a summer thing, but We haven't posted our like collaboration yet because we are doing a collab on the book we read, and it was a pretty big book. It was Court of the Vampire Queen by Katie
Oh my
Robert.
gosh.
Oh my gosh, I love
It's so
that book.
good.
It is. I literally finished it in like a week. And I was the one to read it before all the other ones. And I was like, I'm sorry, guys. I couldn't stop myself. But that was so good. And then I've also done like June and July. I was in this group on Facebook that we did like a reading challenge. And they did it by like number of pages per book. And I was doing really good in it. And then I kept seeing everybody else like being able to read more than me, and they were constantly posting, I read this many pages. And I don't know, I just kind of got in my feels and kind of slacked on it.
Yeah.
And so I was like, you know what? I'm not doing the August one. I need to take a break from it just a little bit. But I'm still going to read. I'm just not going to, push myself because I love reading. I don't want to get burned out by it.
Oh my gosh, yes. It's so easy to get burned out too.
It is.
Like last year, I read a lot of books. I read nearly 300, and
oh wow,
I got into January, and I mean, I got sick at the end of the year. I was sick with the flu from like January or December 18th, well through like the 5th of January.
Wow,
like 3 weeks or more. I was sick with the flu, and it was bad.
Gosh.
It was running rampant through quite a few areas.
Yeah.
And after I got through feeling better, got back to work, because with my job, we take off around the same time that the school does. Not work. I don't work for a school, but that's the business hours we base ourselves off of. So I get quite a few weeks off in December.
Same.
For the first of the year. And so my mom, we go on a trip during that time most of the time. So we went on a trip to Tennessee, and that's when I figured out I was sick, was right after I came back.
Oh gosh.
Right. Like the day after Christmas Day, because we came
that
back
would be horrible.
Yeah, we came back on the eve of Christmas Eve. And then Christmas Eve, I was like, I need to go to the doctor. And by the time I figured out that I needed to go and something was actually wrong, and it wasn't just altitude from Tennessee, it was, Christmas Day. And I was like, crap. So, but yeah, I got into January. We got back to work. We were just kind of moving. It was slow at work because not many sports happen. And so it was just that time of year for us. And I couldn't pick up anything. I couldn't be bothered. Like I had started something. I think I had started things we never get over or never got over. Yeah. Mm-hmm. I had started to knock them out. I started the first book and knock them out, and I got through it. Okay. It took me a while. And then I started the second book, and I got like 100 pages in and just lost motivation. Oh. And it sat there for 3 weeks.
Hey, that's
and I didn't read anything.
That's not too bad. I went like a whole month or a month and a half without reading anything.
Yeah. But like and for me, it was like, I know this is not really a slump, but because there are a lot of people who do go through that, where they go through like 2 or 3 months of like not touching anything, not reading anything. And I was like, because I can still like, I can still pick something else up and read it. It just takes me a while to get through it. But for me, it was like, this is a slump for me because of how fast and how much I can devour, like, like I did last year.
Yeah.
And I was like, it feels weird because it's not like I can't read anything, or not that I don't want to read neither. I'm just struggling to find the desire to.
Yeah. No, I definitely went through that too.
It was such a weird time because I was like, what is happening to me?
Right. Like when I went through a time like that, my husband was like, are you gonna read? Like, I haven't seen you pick up a book in a minute. And I was like, well, I just need a little bit of time and I'm gonna get back to it. Mm-hmm. But I think a lot of it was just I was reading like one book after the other. Like I didn't give myself a break. I just kept going, 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 going. And it got to be where I was like, oh, I need to chill for a minute, regroup,
Yeah.
and then start again.
I feel like part of the problem is too is there are so many things that have been written and that are being written. It's hard to sometimes choose.
Yeah, definitely. Because then I'm like,
Especially, yeah, go ahead.
I was gonna say, yeah, because like there's so many good books and I want to read all of them. And then it's trying to decide what book do you want to read first. And then you're like, well, is this a standalone book or is this a whole series? If it's a whole series, I've got to read the whole series.
Yeah, what am I getting myself into?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That or I'll see someone's like, oh, this book's way better or it's really good. And I'm like, oh, let me read that one. And then I'm like, oh, I have all these books that I need to read first.
Over a year ago, I read the first book, From Blood and Ash, and started the second book. Got almost halfway through the second book and realized that there were 3 or 4 more books left and that the paperbacks were like $20 a piece. And I was like,
Oh,
I'm
gosh.
broke currently. So I stopped reading it, just like halted altogether.
Yeah.
And left the book, like put it back on my shelf with a bookmark in it and everything.
Oh my
And
gosh.
just picked up other books. And I was like, all right, we're going to read something else because I can't afford to get new books.
Right.
I was like, I'm not going to ask other people to buy them for me. And then I think last month I had a little bit of extra cash and my husband and I were going through it. We have like just, you know, down in the dumps, bad mental health. And he's like, I want to go look at it's like a game exchange. It's Entertain Mart.
Oh yeah, I go there and get books all the time.
He was like, I want to go look at Entertain Mart because I want another Xbox 360. He was like, mine stopped working and I have all these games and I can't play them. And I was like, okay, whatever. And so I go back there and I see 3 or 4, like most of the rest of those books on the shelves in the back corner. I'm like, this is a sign. Right. And I look at them and they're like $19.99 a piece. And I was like, I'm pretty sure that's almost exactly the same as Amazon, if not a little bit more expensive. And I was like, I don't have to wait. And so I was like standing there. So then I walked back over to my husband and I'm like, hey husband, I'm like, what are you doing? And he's like, I'm going to buy this Xbox 360 that I found. And I was like, okay, cool. So like, you're spending money. I'm going to spend money. Can I go back over there and get a book? And he was like, I guess, it's your money. Do you have the money? And I was like, yeah. And I was like, so are you going to be upset if I get 3 since you're spending like $300 because you're getting a game too? And he was like, no. And I'm like, all right, cool. Because he has in the past been like, do you even have shelf room for that? Like, do you think it's smart to be buying that if you don't have anywhere to put it? And so then I'm like, good point. Let's just put this back.
Right.
But yeah, he was like, I don't care. I've spent a lot of money. You spend what you want to. It's fine. And then I got them and I was like, yeah, now I can finish that book.
Right.
But I stopped like 6 months ago.
Oh, goodness.
Yeah. And then I put it to the side getting ready to read it. And they said something about this challenge. And I was like, well, right there's my motivation to finish the series.
Awesome.
So this is quite the little turnout.
Right.
Have you ever like found a book that you find really interesting that you want to read, like when you're thrifting or something and you get it and then you get home and realize that it has an entire series in front of it?
All the time. I've got several that are like, oh, this is like the second or third book in the series. And I was like, I didn't know. Oh.
I found The Last Legacy by Adrienne Young at an Ollie's near me.
Oh, nice.
And didn't realize that I, first of all, had already gotten a copy.
Oh,
and second of all, that it was like the third book, which is the last of the series. I was so mad. I was like, bro, are you for real? Because now they're not going to have the rest of them. And I got this one for like $3 and it's a
Yeah,
hardback, which means I'm going to have to put the others on
in
my.
hardback.
Yes, which means it's
Oh
going to take
goodness.
forever for someone, because if either I'm going to have to buy it, or if somebody wants to gift me, they're more than likely not going to choose that one. So then I'm going to be sitting here waiting until I have
Right.
the extra money to go get it, which is going to be like 3 months from now.
I feel that.
And I'll just sit there defeated, like, dang. So now I have no idea what to do the second copy.
Oh my
I'm just going
gosh.
to have a second copy for no reason. And I can't take it back. Because
Yeah.
I didn't realize that I had gotten a second copy until after I threw away the receipt. It was a couple of days later,
Oh
and I
my
was like, I guess I
gosh.
better take those stickers off the covers of those books, because they put stickers on top of them. And
Yeah.
I like got my hair dryer and was like pulling the sticker off, and then I go to put it on the shelf, and I'm like, wait a
Oh
minute.
goodness. Luckily, I haven't gotten any duplicates yet that I know of.
I mean, I have some intentional duplicates, but I was
I
like,
think
dang.
the only duplicates I have is like if I have the physical book and then I have the Kindle book.
Yeah. What is your like one read that like, oh, if I could go back and reread this for the first time again?
It's a very good question.
It's like one of those soul wrenching, like all the feels.
Probably the last book that I just read was the Court of the Vampire Queen.
Oh yeah.
That one I cried. And I was just like, no, I don't want it to be over. That book for sure.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I feel that. I don't know how many I have or which ones I have, or there are a few. I also have a lot of really popular books on my shelf that I keep avoiding.
Yeah, I have one shelf that's like full of like all the popular ones, and I've really haven't read any of those.
One of these days, somebody's going to actually legitimately convince me to start Throne of Glass.
Right. Well, my thing is, I want to finish ACOTAR before I do Throne of Glass. Because I have all of the Throne of Glass. I got those as like a shmiveaway. That I got like the whole series, and it was like awesome. But I want to wait until I finish ACOTAR so that I don't ruin anything, because I've been told do ACOTAR first because there's some little like details from there that are in Throne of Glass. So I was like, let's just wait. But even that, it's a big undertaking.
They're mainly all connected in Crescent Cities. But yeah, there are some overlapping connective things. My problem is that I read the ACOTAR series so long ago that I feel like when I get ready to start Throne of Glass, I'm going to miss some pieces.
Gotcha.
There's no telling. There's no telling.
You never know. You may come up to a detail and you're like, oh, I remember that. That goes with this.
Well, and that's just like I read Fourth Wing, and then I was watching like TikToks or something, and somebody was like, yeah, if you read it like a second or third time, you start to notice other things that you didn't notice the first go round. And like there are a lot of connections and things that are hinted at that you don't pay attention to, because you're just like, oh, that's a coincidence. And then when you go back and actually reread it, you're like, no, that was on purpose, because why would you put this information in there?
Nice.
And I was like, do you know how long it takes for her to write these books? And do you know how many books are supposed to be in this series? And do you realize how many times you're going to have to reread this book and the following before the next one comes out? I was like, no, I'm just going to wait.
Yeah, so like I will say with that series, I've got a pretty funny story. So I haven't started reading it yet, but I do have
Mm-hmm.
the first one. And as soon as they announced that that third one was up for pre-order, I immediately went and pre-ordered it. I was
Mm-hmm.
like, I don't even know if I'm gonna like this series. I haven't read it, but everybody says it's good, and I think I'll like it. So it's on pre-order.
Mine too, girl. Mine too.
Nice.
Yeah. I have I have two copies of both. I got Iron Flame. I read Fourth Way and I was good.
Mhm.
And then I got Iron Flame and I was ready to read it and then it just never happened.
Gotcha. Yeah, I don't have Iron Flame, but I eventually will come to that series to read it. But it's a little down the line.
Yeah, for real. There are finished series that I need to read first.
Yeah,
There are a
definitely.
lot of things I need to do first.
Yes.
Oh my goodness. I have had so much fun talking with you, and I think that is just about all I have.
Nice. Well, I've had a lot of fun too.
Thank you for agreeing and reaching out to chat with me. And hopefully we can do this again.
Definitely, for sure. I enjoyed it, and thank you for letting me be on the podcast.
Of course, of course. I'm gonna get this